Hi, it's Craig Haskell, founder of the Value Hunt Academy, and welcome back to our talk about real estate value investing. In today's video, I'm going to expose the concept of value. What is value? How should you look at value? If you've been searching for value investments, what types of things should you look for when seeing value? If you're trying to create value and make money with your investments, then pay attention to today's video on understanding value so that you learn the fundamentals to real estate value investing. Now, in today's talk, I want to get into value as it applies to everything. Understanding the very basics of value will give you a leg up on most other investors so that you make smarter investments with your stocks, with your bonds, collectibles, or real estate. These principles apply to all types of investments. Now, there are two types of investments I want to talk about today. There's the current value and there's the intrinsic value. The current value is the marketplace. This is what something is worth. It's the highest price a buyer will pay, known as the bid price. It's the lowest price a seller will accept, known as the asking price. In essence, it's in the marketplace where the buyer and the seller meet at a point called current market value. In markets where there's a big transition, like market tops and market bottoms, there's a huge gap between the bid and ask price. These market transitions can be in the stock market, could be any asset class. For us, it's really real estate. That's what we try to watch the most. So you think about it, a couple of years ago, there was a huge transition where buyers were afraid to bid too high, and sellers weren't realistic about the big drop in real estate prices, so they were asking too much. Hence, there was a big gap between the bid and ask. The gap's slowly been narrowing since then, so there's more opportunities for value investors. The intrinsic value we have right here is the underlying value in a perfect world. It's really, it's the natural, it's what's essential. It's if you strip everything away, what's left over? That's the real value. That's the intrinsic value, and that's the difference between the two. I have a few examples that we'll talk about comparing the two types of values. You see a couple of them up here. I've got some other ones I'll show you, but I really want you to understand both the current and the intrinsic value, because in later tutorials, I'll get into the relationship between these two so that you understand this relationship on how to make money using some strategies that we'll talk about. So it's really about the fundamentals today, about current value and intrinsic value. But as I go through this, it's important that we keep this talk at 30,000 feet so that you get the big picture. That's the ultimate goal today, to get the big picture. So that as you understand the big picture and you learn the fundamentals of value real estate investing, we can start adding on building blocks to this foundation. So it'll start to make more sense. Does that sound okay for you? Good. Well, here's an example. I got an NBA card here. This is a Larry Bird NBA basketball card that I've had since the late 80s. And the current value of this card is $25. And that $25 is based on similar cards selling for this price, similar condition of this card, and a similar card type. Now, $25 for this card is the current value. It's a price where buyers and sellers have met together and agreed that it's worth $25. So that's the current value. What's the intrinsic value of this card? It's really zero. It's worthless. It's a photo on cardboard paper. There's no underlying value. You can't do anything with this card, so it's worthless. If you strip everything away from this card, its real intrinsic value is worthless. So it's worth $25 current value, but it has intrinsic value of zero. How about Michael Jordan? I got a Michael Jordan card here. The current value of this card is $50. The intrinsic value of this card is zero. It's worthless. It's the same as the Larry Bird card. In the marketplace, the Michael Jordan card is worth double the Larry Bird card. Why would that be, you think? Because buyers and sellers are willing to pay more for the Michael Jordan card. It's pretty simple, but the reality is the underlying value of these cards, the intrinsic value of the Larry Bird card and the Michael Jordan card, it's the same. It's worthless. So That's a pretty good comparison to show you the difference between current value and intrinsic value using this analogy where there's really a lot of built-up current value but no intrinsic value. Let's take a look at another example here. I have a wedding ring. My wedding ring, it's 24 karat gold. Market spot gold prices have exploded, in the last few years. Current price is about $1,400 an ounce. It's actually getting close to $1,500 now, but the ring weight is 6 grams. It's about 1/5 of an ounce. The current market value is about $300. If you melted it and we sold it as spot gold, it'd be about $300. The intrinsic value of this ring is $300. It's the same as the current market value. Why would that be? Why would it be the same? Well, it's because gold prices have underlying value. There's gold in this ring and it fluctuates with the market. So gold prices will go up, they'll go down, and that's the current value as well as the intrinsic value. They move together. They're the same. Okay? So let's talk about a vehicle. We all know a vehicle is it's a big depreciating asset. So I've got a Ford F-150. Used to have this baby years ago. It's a great vehicle. Now, the current value of this Ford 150 is 30 grand when you drive it off, but as soon as you drive it off the lot, it depreciates in value. It lowers its current value and the intrinsic value. As time goes on, the truck gets much older, the intrinsic value actually starts to go higher than the current value. So why would that be? Well, what's the natural, if you strip everything away, what's in this truck? It's the parts. That's what it is. So as it gets older, the parts become more valuable than the current value of the vehicle. Let's take a look at another example here, another asset class, one that's in our game here. Let's look at this real estate property. Now, to keep it simple, this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's on the west side of Phoenix. I need a point of reference. So this is a deal that I bought that I bought it for $45,000. I put $10,000 of rehab costs into it and about $5,000 of closing costs and some fees. So the total cost that I paid, I'm into this deal for $60,000. The current value of the property is $90,000. There's a $30,000 profit built into this deal today. But the intrinsic value is $150,000. So tomorrow, there's a lot more profit built in because at some point in time, prices are going to go up. Now, the underlying value of this home, let's say it burned down, is $150,000. That's really the natural tendency of this deal. Now, that's assuming I had fire insurance, but if I didn't have fire insurance, maybe the real natural value is worth the land, which is probably $25,000, $30,000. Now, one of the reasons I like this opportunity because there's no new home building in the area. And at some point, builders are going to need to build because there's going to be demand for houses. And guess where the intrinsic values of home need to be? They need to be at $150,000. That's where the intrinsic value is. That's where the opportunity is. And I look at this house here. It's a funny story because I was showing an investor this house as we were going through it when it was all in bad shape. And I made a comment. I said, my car was parked outside. God, my car right there is worth more than this house. And he looked at me and said, my watch is worth more than this house. I thought that was kind of funny. So anyways, so let's review. Let's go over some of the things we've talked about. And when you're looking at investments, you need to understand the relationship between the current market value and the intrinsic value. If you buy assets at prices below the intrinsic value, you're buying with a margin of safety. And you're protecting the downside while you're opening up the upside potential of the investment. In this case right here, from 60 to 150 grand. So in another video, I'll teach you 2 different ways to determine the intrinsic value, because that's really the key, is learning how to determine what the intrinsic value is so you can position yourself as a value investor. Also, I also want to teach you some other things about intrinsic value and how you can take advantage of these 2 opportunities. There's market inefficiencies here between current value and the intrinsic value. And I'm going to teach you how to capitalize on that opportunity because that's really where the real golden opportunities lie for us as value investors, and on how to understand that and position ourselves in market inefficiencies. So, but the real objective of this video is to teach you about value. So once you understand how to create value and you learn how to create favorable value creation opportunities, I'll teach you strategies so that you can execute on investments in these types of deals right here. For example, this house right here. Once you learn how to find inefficient markets, pricing between these 2 right here, and you see the intrinsic value of 150 grand, I'll teach you some strategies on how you can buy at $60,000 like I did this house right here and really significantly build your wealth. So, as I told you earlier, I've only scratched the surface today on the topic of value. To get more detailed information and offer comments or ideas, please visit our discussion forum at the Value Hunt Academy, where you can ask questions, and I'll be there to answer any questions and give you more detail on this intrinsic versus the current value proposition. I hope this video has served you. I look forward to teaching more about real estate value investing and helping you reach for the stars.